The neighbors thought something terrible had happened. Fireworks were exploding across the sky. Music echoed through the living room. Laughter bounced off the walls like champagne bubbles rising to the surface. And then a scream tore through the house. Not a small cry of frustration. Not a quick burst of anger. A full-body scream. Sharp, desperate, and raw. His father rushed down the hallway, irritation already tightening his chest. "What is wrong with you?" he shouted as he pushed the bedroom door open. Inside the room, under the cold blue glow of a digital clock that read 12:0, his son was curled on the floor, hands pressed tightly over his ears, rocking back and forth, crying as if something inside him had shattered. To his father, it looked absurd. All of this, over a learning app streak. 364 days. Gone. Ruined at the very first second of 26. "You're acting like a baby," he snapped. "It's just a game." But what he was witnessing wasn't immaturity. It wasn't drama. It wasn't manipulation. It was a nervous system that had been holding itself together for 12 straight hours, finally collapsed. And that difference matters more than most people realize. New Year's Eve had been loud from the moment the sun came up. Relatives arrived early. Doors opened and closed repeatedly. The television played countdown specials all afternoon. Pots clanged in the kitchen. Spices filled the air. Music played louder than usual. For most families, this felt festive, exciting, full of warmth. For him, it felt like endurance. He tried, he really did. He answered questions politely. He forced small smiles. He tolerated hugs that lasted too long. He sat at the dinner table, even when his body wanted to retreat to the quiet of his room. He was trying to be flexible, trying to be easy, trying to make it through without causing trouble. But every bright light, every overlapping voice, every unexpected change took something from him. Something invisible. Something invisible. Something invisible. By evening, his reserves were nearly empty. But he had one last goal. Keep the streak alive. 364 days in a row. Every single day he had completed his learning exercises. Every day he had watched that number grow. Every day that streak represented consistency in a world that often felt unpredictable. That number was not just progress. It was order. It was safety. It was proof that something in his life did not suddenly change. At 11:55 p.m., he sat cross-legged on the bedroom floor with his tablet in his hands. Focused, quiet, counting the minutes internally. His breathing steady, his eyes locked on the screen. Then his father leaned in from the hallway. 5 minutes, he called playfully, clapping his hands. 4, 3. The boy froze. It wasn't time yet. His internal clock jolted. His sense of sequence scrambled. His breathing shifted, almost imperceptibly. His fingers tightened around the tablet. His father laughed. "I'm just kidding. Relax." But predictability isn't a preference for some children. It is stability. It is safety. And safety had already been stretched thin all day. The television countdown began booming from the living room. Fireworks cracked like thunder outside the window. His father shouted again, louder now, excited, almost there. By 11:59 p.m., the boy was no longer just anxious. He was in survival mode. His shoulders were tight, his jaw clenched, his body rigid. When midnight hit, the fireworks exploded in full force. The house vibrated with noise. The tablet screen flickered for 1 second. Just one. Long enough for the streak to reset, and then it happened. The scream. But here's what no one in that house understood in that moment. The scream was not about the streak. The streak was simply the final straw. The visible trigger. Not the true cause. The true cause had been building all day. There is a concept, often discussed in neurodivergent communities, called spoon theory. Imagine waking up every morning with a limited number of spoons. Each spoon represents a unit of emotional or sensory energy. For some people, spoons seem endless. For others, they are not. Bright lights take a spoon. Unexpected noise takes another. Social interaction takes one. Forced flexibility takes one. Masking discomfort takes several. By the time midnight arrived, his drawer was empty. Completely empty. And when the final disruption occurred, the fake countdown, the fireworks, the app reset, there were no spoons left to absorb it. His nervous system did what nervous systems do when overwhelmed. It went into survival. This is the difference between a tantrum and a meltdown. A tantrum is strategic. It has a goal. It stops when the goal is met. A meltdown is neurological. It is not chosen. It is not calculated. It is the brain's alarm system, the amygdala, taking over. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow. Reasoning shuts down. The thinking brain goes offline. In that moment, he was not choosing behavior. He was experiencing overload. And when his father raised his voice, the brain did not hear discipline. It heard danger. So the scream intensified. Not because he wanted control, but because he had lost it. So what should have happened? First, lower the volume of your own voice. The adult nervous system sets the temperature of the room. If you escalate, the child escalates. Second, reduce sensory input. Turn off the television. Dim the lights. Close the door. You cannot calm a storm while the thunder is still crashing overhead. Third, validate before logic. Not, it's just a game, but I can see that was really important to you. Validation does not mean agreement. It means acknowledgement. Acknowledgement lowers threat. Fourth, do not teach during the meltdown. The reasoning brain is offline. Lessons only land after safety returns. Fifth, repair afterward. When calm comes back, sit beside them. Say, that felt really big, didn't it? Repair builds resilience. Punishment builds shame. And shame makes the next meltdown arrive faster. After nearly 40 minutes, his body gave out. Not because he decided to calm down, but because the nervous system exhausted itself. He fell asleep on the bedroom floor. The fireworks faded into distant pops. The house grew quiet. His father stood in the doorway, breathing slower now. Unsure. At 2:13 a.m., the boy stirred, his breathing steady, his eyes heavy. The first thing he did was not check the tablet. He did not cry. He did not complain. He looked toward the crib in the corner of the room. His baby brother was asleep, one tiny arm stretched out from beneath a fallen blanket. Slowly, carefully, the boy stood up, barefoot on the cool floor. He walked over and gently pulled the blanket back over the baby, adjusting it softly so it wouldn't wake him. That is the part most people miss. Autistic children are not cold. They are not selfish. They are not dramatic. They feel everything. At volume 11, the whirls, louder, brighter, sharper, sharper. And when they finally break, it is not rebellion. It is surrender. If you have ever judged a meltdown, or been judged for one, understand this. It is not weakness. It is not failure. It is a nervous system asking for safety. And when we look beneath the behavior, we stop seeing chaos. We start seeing a child who tried to be brave for just a little too long. If this story changed how you see meltdowns, remember this moment, because sometimes the loudest scream in the house is simply unspoken overload.